My uncles think they buried the past. They're wrong. This family drama starts with stolen science and ends with an empire that can't survive the truth. They took everything from my father. They took my future. They thought I'd stay quiet. But this is one of those revenge stories where the smallest person in the room holds the match. My uncles sit on a throne worth trillions, unaware that the quiet clerk in their basement holds the match to burn it all down. They thought burying my father meant burying his secrets, but they forgot one thing. I know where the bodies are hidden. My name is Emery Collins. To the world, and specifically to the board members of Global Nexus, I am a ghost. I'm a piece of office furniture. I am the archives clerk, a position so low on the corporate ladder that I don't even have a badge that opens the front door after 6 p.m. I spend my days in the sub-basement, 3 floors below the lobby, surrounded by the smell of ozone, dust, and decaying paper. The air conditioning hums a constant low drone down here, drowning out the world above. Up there, on the 88th floor, my uncles Marcus and Julian live in a palace of glass and steel. They drink scotch that costs more than my annual salary. They shake hands with presidents. They are the kings of clean energy, the saviors of the climate crisis, the brilliant minds behind the Nexus fusion drive. They are the richest man in the Western Hemisphere. And they are thieves. But before I tell you how I'm going to destroy them, you need to understand who they destroyed first. My father, Arthur Collins, was not a businessman. He was a dreamer, a scientist. He was the kind of man who would forget to eat dinner because he was staring at a whiteboard covered in equations. He smelled like chalk dust and coffee. When I was a little girl, he didn't read me fairy tales. He explained the laws of thermodynamics. He told me that energy was never lost, only transferred. He told me that one day he would give the world a sun in a bottle. I remember the nights he spent in our garage. It wasn't a normal garage. It was a labyrinth of wires, servers, and prototype reactors that hummed with a terrifying, beautiful blue light. Uncle Marcus and Uncle Julian were around back then, too. They weren't billionaires yet. They were just hungry. Marcus was the talker, the salesman, the one with the bright smile and the cold eyes. Julian was the operator, the one who watched from the corners, calculating leverage. They would come over for dinner, bring a cheap bottle of wine, and ask Dad how the project was going. They called it Project Aether. My dad would light up. He trusted them. They were his brothers. He showed them the schematics. He explained the containment fields. He walked them through the stabilization algorithms that nobody else in the world understood. I was 10 years old when everything changed. I remember waking up to shouting. It was a rainy Tuesday in November. I crept to the top of the stairs. Marcus was screaming at my father. He was holding a stack of papers. He was saying that the investors were pulling out, that the technology was too dangerous, that Dad was going to bankrupt the family if he didn't sign the rights over to the holding company they had created. My father was crying. He wasn't crying because of the money. He was crying because they were taking his life's work away from him. He kept saying, "It's not ready. You can't monetize it yet. It's not safe." Julian didn't scream. He just spoke in that low, snake-like voice of his. He told Dad that he was mentally unstable, that if he didn't sign, they would have him committed. They would take me away. They would make sure I went into foster care. That was the leverage. Me. My father signed. 3 months later, Arthur Collins was found dead in his car in the garage. The police ruled it a suicide. Carbon monoxide poisoning. The garage where he had built the future became his tomb. My uncles cried at the funeral. Marcus gave a eulogy about the tragedy of a brilliant mind consumed by madness. Julian held my hand with a grip that felt like a vice. They promised to take care of me. They lied. Within a year, the trust fund my father supposedly left had evaporated due to bad investments managed by Julian. The house was sold to pay debts I didn't know existed. I was shipped off to a state-run boarding school, then left to fend for myself the moment I turned 18. They washed their hands of Arthur Collins and his daughter. Fast forward 15 years. Global Nexus launches the fusion drive. It changes the world. Infinite energy, zero emissions. The stock price goes vertical. Marcus and Julian are hailed as the new Teslas, the new Edisons. I was working at a coffee shop when I saw the announcement. I saw the diagram on the news. It was simplified for the public, but I recognized the geometry. I recognized the core design. It was the drawing my father had made on a napkin for me when I was 7, explaining how a star holds itself together. I knew I had to get inside. It took me 2 years to get the job in the archives. I didn't apply as Emery Collins. I used my mother's maiden name, Vance. I dyed my hair brown, I wore glasses I didn't need, and clothes that made me look frumpy and invisible. I became a master of being uninteresting. Global Nexus is a company obsessed with the future, which means they are careless with the past. That's why the archives are in the basement. That's why they hired me. They needed someone to digitize 40 years of physical records before they incinerated them. They wanted to erase the paper trail. For 6 months, I have been scanning invoices, memos, and legal briefs. I smile at the security guards. I bring donuts for the IT guys. I am the nice, quiet girl who nobody looks at twice. And then, last Tuesday, I found it. I was in Section G, Row 4, clearing out a box labeled Miscellany 1999 to 2003. It was slated for the shredder on Friday. I opened it, expecting tax returns or cafeteria receipts. Instead, I found a leather-bound notebook. My heart stopped. I knew that notebook. It smelled like chalk dust and coffee. It was my father's lab journal. But that wasn't all. Underneath the journal was a thick file folder sealed with red wax. The label read, Project Aether, Transfer of Ownership. I took the box to the scanning station, my hands shaking so hard I almost dropped it. I checked the hallway, empty. The security camera in the corner was on a 30-second loop. I had learned that from the guard, Stan, who liked to complain about the cheap equipment. I waited for the loop to reset. Then I opened the file. It wasn't just the patent. It was the proof of the theft. There were emails printed out, emails between Marcus and Julian dated 2 weeks before my father died. They were discussing the safety flaw my father had warned them about, the instability in the magnetic containment field. Marcus wrote, "If we fix it, it delays the launch by 5 years. We lose the government contract." Julian replied, "Arthur won't let us launch with the flaw. He's too ethical." Marcus, "Then Arthur is no longer part of the equation. We take the IP, we bury the safety data, and we launch. If the reactors melt down in 20 years, we'll be too rich to care." I read that line over and over again. If the reactors melt down in 20 years. It has been exactly 20 years since they started building the prototype infrastructure. My father didn't just kill himself. They drove him to it. Or maybe they staged it. I don't know for sure yet. But I know this. Global Nexus is sitting on a ticking time bomb. The energy grid that powers half the country is based on a stolen, flawed design that my father died trying to fix. And my uncles know it. They buried the report. They buried the journal. They buried me. I sat there in the basement, the hum of the servers vibrating in my teeth. I felt a coldness wash over me that I had never felt before. It wasn't grief. I was done with grief. It was clarity. They built a $1 trillion empire on my father's bones. They are risking millions of lives to keep the stock price up. I didn't scan the documents into the official system. That would flag IT. Instead, I scanned them onto an encrypted drive I keep in my boots. Then I put the physical files back in a different box, one labeled Tax Audits 1985, a box I knew nobody would ever open. Now I had the weapon, but a weapon is useless if you don't know how to aim. I couldn't just go to the police. My uncles owned the police. I couldn't go to the press. They owned the media outlets. If I came forward as Emery Collins, the disgruntled daughter, they would paint me as crazy, just like they did my dad. They would crush me. No. I need to make them destroy themselves. My plan has 3 phases. I call it the Collins correction. Phase 1 began 3 days ago. It's the psychological warfare phase. My uncle Marcus is a narcissist. He Googles himself every morning. He checks the internal employee forums to see how much his underlings adore him. I created a dummy account on the internal network. Access level, senior executive. How? Because the senior VP of operations writes his password on a sticky note under his keyboard, and I'm the one who collects the recycling from his office every Tuesday night. I posted a single file to a hidden directory that I knew Marcus's personal bot would flag. It wasn't the patent. It was a digital audio file. I had spent weeks synthesizing it. I took old home videos of my father, isolated his voice, and used an AI program to generate a new sentence. The file played a voice that sounded exactly like Arthur Collins. It said, "Hello, Marcus. The containment field is failing. You can't hide the blue light forever." I routed the notifications so it would pop up on Marcus's private iPad during his morning briefing. According to the executive assistant's calendar notes, which I also have access to, Marcus canceled his meetings that morning. He called in the head of cybersecurity. He thought he was being hacked by a competitor. He was screaming about a ghost. That was just the poke. Now comes the stab. Phase 2, the financial bleed. Global Nexus is about to sign a merger with a massive European conglomerate. The deal is worth $400 billion. It relies entirely on the stability of the Nexus fusion drive. I have access to the maintenance logs. Because I am the archive girl, nobody cares what files I look at, as long as they look old. But the maintenance logs aren't old. They are digital, but they are backed up on physical tape drives in the basement. I found the anomaly. Reactor 4 in Nevada has been showing temperature spikes for 6 months. Microfractures in the containment glass. The system automatically flags these as critical, but someone with high-level clearance has been manually overriding the flags, changing them to sensor error. The override code belongs to Julian. He knows the reactors are failing. He's patching them with software updates to hide the physical decay, just long enough to close the merger and cash out. I didn't leak this to the press. Not yet. I leaked it to the European conglomerate's due diligence team, but I didn't send them the raw data. That would look like a leak. I sent them a misdirected email. I spoofed Julian's email address. I drafted a message intended for Marcus, but accidentally CC'd the lead auditor of the European firm. The email read, "The Nevada patch isn't holding. If the Europeans ask for a physical inspection of the core, we are dead. Stall them until the ink is dry. Move the capital to the Cayman's account by Friday." I hit send yesterday at 4 p.m. By 4:15 p.m., the elevator to the 88th floor was locked down. Panic. I was down in the basement, listening to a podcast, eating a bagel. I watched the internal comms light up. The European team suspended negotiations immediately. They are demanding a physical core inspection. Global Nexus stock dropped 12% in after-hours trading. This morning, the atmosphere in the building is toxic. Everyone is terrified. They are hunting for the leaker. They are checking the IT logs. But they won't find me, because I didn't use the company network to send the email. I used a burner laptop, tapped into the building's Wi-Fi via a signal booster I hid in the ceiling tiles of the janitor's closet on the 40th floor, and routed the traffic through a server in Belarus. To them, it looks like a corporate espionage attack from a foreign rival. They are looking outward. They never look down. But Phase 3? Phase 3 is the one that keeps me awake at night. This is the endgame. Next week is the annual shareholders meeting. It is a massive event, broadcast live globally. Marcus and Julian will be on stage. They are planning to unveil the Generation 2 reactor. I have seen the specs for Generation 2. It's a lie. It's just the same broken design with a new casing. I have been working on a presentation of my own. The boardroom uses a closed circuit system for their presentations to prevent remote hacking. It's air-gapped, meaning you can't hack it from the internet. You have to be physically plugged into the room. Nobody gets into the AV room behind the stage except the head technician. But the head technician, a guy named Gary, has a weakness. He loves vintage sci-fi memorabilia, and I just happen to have found a rare signed poster in the archives that I told him I'd let him have if he lets me watch the show from the booth. He thinks I'm flirting with him. He thinks I'm just a bored clerk who thinks he's cool. He gave me a visitor pass for the booth for next Tuesday. Here is what is going to happen. Marcus will step up to the podium. He will smile that $1,000,000 smile. He will say, "The future is bright. The future is Nexus." And then I am going to plug my drive into the main projector console. They won't see a promotional video for the Generation 2 reactor. They will see the scanned pages of my father's journal. They will see the date stamps. They will see the emails where they planned to steal it. They will see the safety report proving that the reactors are ticking time bombs. And finally, they will see a video I recorded myself. It starts with me sitting in my father's old chair. I look into the camera. I am not wearing my glasses. My hair is blonde again. I look exactly like my father did before he died. In the video, I say, "My name is Emery Collins. I am the daughter of Arthur Collins, and I am the rightful owner of the Nexus technology. The men on stage are not visionaries. They are murderers, and they have sold you a lie that is about to explode. I will broadcast the live data feeds from Reactor 4, showing the critical temperature spikes in real time. The stock won't just drop, it will be delisted. The SEC will raid the building before the presentation is even over. The frantic attempt to move money to the Caymans will be frozen because I have already forwarded the transaction codes to the FBI's Financial Crimes Division. I did that an hour ago. I am sitting here in the basement, typing this out while the chaos begins upstairs. I can hear the shouting in the hallway. Security teams are running drills. They know something is wrong, but they can't figure out the source. They are looking for a hacker. They are looking for a rival corporation. They are walking right past the archives room. My Uncle Julian just walked by. I saw him through the crack in the blinds. He looks 10 years older than he did last week. He's sweating. He's holding a phone, screaming at someone about containment. He stopped for a second outside my door. My heart hammered against my ribs like a trapped bird. He looked at the sign, Archives. He sneered. He dismissed it. To him, this room is just dust. It's irrelevant. He kept walking. That was his mistake. He thinks the past is dead. He thinks he buried Arthur Collins. But the past isn't dead. It's just been filing paperwork, waiting for the right moment. I have the drive in my pocket. I have the pass for the AV booth. I am not doing this for the money, although I will admit watching their net worth hit zero will be satisfying. I am doing this for the little girl who waited for her dad to come in from the garage, and for the man who died believing he had failed the world. He didn't fail. He was betrayed. And on Tuesday, the world will know the difference. They stole $1 trillion idea, but they forgot to steal the instructions on how to control it. And they definitely forgot to check if the inventor's daughter was watching. I am Emery Collins, and I am about to light a match. It's strange. For years, I thought revenge would feel hot, like fire, like rage. But as I sit here, listening to the hum of the servers, watching the empire crumble slowly from the cracks I've made, it doesn't feel hot. It feels cold. It feels calculated. It feels like fusion, perfect, sustainable, unstoppable energy. I just checked the stock ticker. It's down another 4%. The rumors are spreading. The fear is setting in. Uncle Marcus just sent a company-wide email. Do not believe the rumors. We are strong. We are a family. A family. That's rich. He has no idea what family means. Family is protecting the legacy. Family is truth. I'm replying to his email right now, not to the whole company, just to him, from my personal email, the one I haven't used in 15 years, the one with my real name. Subject, the garage. Body, the blue light is beautiful, isn't it, Uncle Marcus? See you on Tuesday. I hit send. I lean back in my chair. I can imagine the notification pinging on his phone in the penthouse. I can imagine the color draining from his face. The game is over. He just doesn't know he's already lost. I grab my bag. It's 6 p.m. Time to go home. The security guard, Stan, waves at me as I walk to the elevator. "Good night, Emery," he says. "Quiet day?" I smile at him, a real smile. "Very quiet, Stan," I say, "but I think things are going to get a lot louder soon." I step out into the cool evening air. The Global Nexus tower looms above me, a jagged shard piercing the sky. It looks powerful, it looks invincible, but I know the truth. It's just a house of cards, and I just pulled the bottom one out. Let it burn.